One of your lectures is, what is it, the enemies,
Exposing the enemies of freedom,
Yeah,
yes.
I wanted to touch slightly on that because this was one of the, when I got to this episode, I was like, I felt like I wasn't alone. Here was an articulate presentation, no tinfoil hat on your head. You made some great points, and it really resonated. It's like, yes, that makes sense. I don't know at what point I realized there is a whole lot more going on. There really is.
Right.
This new world order, this one world government thing, this isn't, it's not just a crazy conspiracy. In your travels, and as you continue to do this, are you finding that more people are realizing this is what's happening? There is a plot. There is an elite group of international folks working to implement this, and this plays a huge role in the usurpation of our rights, of our states' rights, of the deterioration of the Constitution.
Yes. I want to talk about that for just a moment. This is fascinating to me because when I created the Constitution is the Solution series, this was 10 years ago. And at the time, coming into the topic of conspiracy, I did it very gently, very gradually, building up to and establishing a foundation for it so that this isn't coming across as some tinfoil hat, crazy conspiracy theory stuff. In fact, one of the first things I talk about in Lecture 5, The Enemies of Freedom.
Conspiracy fact, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. There's conspiracy theory, there's conspiracy fact, and we need to be careful not to get caught up in the speculative conspiracy theories, but we are firmly grounded, keeping our feet on the ground on well-documented fact, because there's plenty.
Like reptilian aliens, that's pretty well documented.
I'm not going there. But yeah, and that's one of the examples I give of, this is a little bit more on the speculative conspiracy theory stuff, just a little bit. And yet there's so much out there that is well documented of a global agenda to create one government to rule over the entire world, regionalization leading to globalization, and so on. Now, the reason I mention this is I really go through Lecture 4 and the beginning of 5 to build up that foundation so that when I start talking about conspiracy fact, it doesn't shock people. Today, I feel like we don't need nearly that much buildup because people are beginning to see this all around them. They're beginning to see that there's corruption. The deep state, for example, is now a very common phraseology, where that was something that was very foreign to us even 10 years ago.
Trump has helped a lot.
Yeah, in that regard, we've seen so much where people recognize media corruption is all around us. Yeah. Government corruption is all around us. Propaganda, the deep state and so on. So this idea of there being conspiracy fact is no longer such a taboo topic that's something you have to walk into very gently and carefully and really lay that foundation. If I were to make the Constitution series again today, it wouldn't have nearly as much build-up to establishing there is a conspiracy in the world to take your freedom. Yeah, pretty much everybody knows that now.
Yeah, I can see that.
Especially over the last couple of years. We've seen that so abundantly that it's just not that foreign of a concept anymore.
Do they have more questions about it now? Like, how does this work? Because it seems like, I'd imagine, like, now people come with various assumptions around what it is, not necessarily if it is.
Right. Exactly right. And really, the importance of this is when you're seeing crazy things happening over here and over there from different elements of government or whatever, when you understand the big picture is when it all starts to make more sense. And so that's some of the major value here. When you understand the big picture, number one, everything starts to make sense. But number two, it helps us have a better idea of what to do to stop it. If you know what their actual agendas are, you understand that regionalization, like the North American Union push from 2010, for example, that was part of a much larger agenda. Knowing that, well, it makes sense what they're doing, and knowing that, we have a better understanding and rally cry to help stop it.
How would you describe we had someone from the media come in a couple of weeks ago, and I always feel, speaking for me, I always wonder, it's like, man, did I describe that as best as I could? Because you got to talk in very short nuggets, and you only have this much time and this much of their attention to bring about the point. This is what it is. So if you had like a couple of sentences to describe the conspiracy, how would you do it?
Wow.
Right, it's tough. See?
Yeah, it is. And really, I would play off of what they already know. When we talk about deep state, that would probably be where I'd start. because we've heard a lot about the deep state. What is it? What is the real agenda behind it? And in a couple minutes, you could at least bring up that topic, it not be some foreign concept, and have a little bit of a conversation on that. And we really have done that already just now in our conversation here, that the deep state agenda, if you want to call it that, is really globalization. It's to transform the United Nations from really, they're kind of that recommendatory body, kind of like the Articles of Confederation established. And they want to grow that into being an actual government with a military power behind it, and to disarm the rest of the world so that there is no one country that has the power to say no to them.
Right.
That's really what it comes down to. That's probably the most concise explanation I can give, and there's plenty of documentation behind all of that.
And I'd imagine, going back to our topic, that the Constitution is a threat to global governance,
Absolutely.
Right?